Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Gambia Women in STEM STEMathon, episode 2. My name is Zainab Sise, and I will be the moderator for this session. So, throughout this series, you will see a group of talented young Gambian girls from different schools across the nation presenting their innovative projects in front of our esteemed panel of judges. Today, we have three schools presenting, namely SIBEC, St. Joseph, and St. Peter's. So, on our esteemed panel of judges, we have Ms. Fatu Zahra Sise, the CEO of Zahra Group, Ms. Sunfai, President of Tech for Gambia, Ms. Safia Dabo, Manager Microbiologist at MRC and lecturer at UTG and a PhD candidate. And we also have Ms. Ya Owanjai, National Accreditation and Quality Assurance Authority, and we have Ms. Maimuna Jabi, a climate change advocate, and Ms. Abigail Yusuf, engineer from NOEC Water Division. Please help me welcome our esteemed panel of judges. And I do hope that everything goes really, really well today. I'm really excited for what we have going on and for what the schools are going to be presenting today. And just some ground rules for the schools here. We are going to have 20, each school or each team is going to have 20 minutes to present their project, but that's going to be cut into two. So 10 minutes to pitch your innovative project and 10 minutes for questions and an answer session. And one of the judges will be keeping the time and will inform you when the time keeps going from 5 minutes to 1 minute and whatever time that you have left. And I hope that is very clear to everyone present here. And without further ado, I would like to call on the first school that will be presenting their project today, Cibec International High School.
On the 13th of August 2018, the Gambia's former Minister of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources, Lamin Diba, had announced that Gambia had officially lost 97,000 hectares of forest cover. The latter is now going through a continual loss at 3.11% annually. Our fellow women in the kitchen complain of mass smoke emission from the cooking media we use when it comes to firewood or cooking gas. There's also that expensive aspect of fetching the latter alone. Now let's take a moment to close our eyes, please. Let's envision a reality, the future, where the rates of all these problems increase significantly until they become a menace to the society. We see how the trees that were once in millions in the Gambia slowly disappear, leaving the land as dry and arid as a desert. Let's not forget about the blankets of smoke that get us used to gray skies and foggy air as the rates of lung cancer and respiratory diseases increase. Drought will spread throughout our homeland and illness will now become a norm. Now, isn't this a tragedy? Good morning, judges. I am Aisha Kokara from the gas system from Cibec International School, here to propose a solution to all these problems. Now, already we might be thinking, isn't charcoal an already existing solution to this? Well, what if we told you that we are here to provide a solution that will serve just like charcoal, but different? This time, it doesn't require the cutting down of even a single branch of a tree. Our product is called Biokimbo, and it is going to be made by a company that we are planning to establish called New Life. This Biokimbo is made mainly of biomass and agricultural waste. We're talking about coconut husk, coconut shells, peanut shells, and more. Not only is our product eco-friendly, it is cleaner, it is much cheaper, it is cost efficient, and it burns 4 times longer than charcoal. With our product, our women in the kitchen don't have to complain about going through all that hard work to clean up their kitchen after working or after cleaning. With just the little ash that our product emits, you are able to just shove it and throw it. To use our product, all you need to do is to light it up on a cooking stove just as you do for charcoal, and it is done. Now, a week ago, we have conducted a market research in our school, mainly targeting the cleaners. Out of 10 of them, 5 used charcoal, 3 used gas, while 2 used firewood. 7 of them approved of this idea as an efficient and clean way to make use of the waste that is going to pollute the Gambia. So that is a better way to make use of it, while 3 had concerns about the actual product. With our product, we hope to battle against deforestation, climate change, the emission of greenhouse gases, and make cooking much easier, much more efficient, and cost effective for our ladies. With our product, we hope to remain the Gambia as the smiling coast of of Africa, just as it was yesterday, just as it is now, and just as it will be tomorrow. Thank. Now we are going to present our PowerPoint slide. This is our agenda for today. We are going to introduce this product, or should I say, further introduce our product. We are going to explain the process of manufacturing our product, as well as the advantages and disadvantages, commerce, and conclusion. I will call my partner Mariatu to help me with the explanation. Next, introduction. So, as I mentioned earlier, the objectives of our product is to decrease the deforestation rate, increase the employment rate of the Gambia, promote the growth of coconut trees, and increasing agriculture. Now, how we're going to do this is going to be explained later in the process. Next. Now we move on to the process of manufacturing this. The first process is the shell collection. So here we see some coconut husk. Here we see some peanut shells, and this is the shell of the coconut. And we are planning to collect it through various ways, and those will be discussed later. Next. The first stage is carbonization. The first stage is carbonization, where the shells are going to be placed into a carbonization furnace for them to burn for a while. Then is pulverization, which is basically a process that turns solid objects into powder. Next. Next, the powdered form of the product is mixed with a binding agent and water. And this is the final product. So go back please. So this is the extruder, and this is where the product is going to come out of. Is going to be left on a dry safe phase to dry for about 2 to 3 days. But if you want it to be quicker, you can just insert it into an oven for about 5 hours. Next. So here is a visual display. Let's go back, please. This is a visual display of how the charcoal is made. Can we go to 4 minutes, please? Yep. Okay. Okay, this is good. As you can see, this is the kiln where it is inserted into, and this is where it is going to be burnt. We have some little holes on it to allow some oxygen in. Let's turn up the sound, please. This is the kiln where it's going to be burnt. This is a traditional way of doing it, although there are some machinery that can do this in a much quicker way. So these are the holes that allow the oxygen in. But further into the process, these holes are going to be closed to ensure that the product doesn't immediately turn into ash, because we want it into a powdered form, but while it's still charcoal and not ash alone. So this is just the process alone. Since we have such little time, we're just going to skip it. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, so now my partner here, Maretu, is going to discuss the advantages, disadvantages, commerce section, and the conclusion of our project.
Good morning, judges. I am Maria Tuja, and I'm here to talk about our advantages, commerce, and conclusion of our product. These advantages are very advantageous as we know that our product is much more efficient. It produces less smoke, can use to be burned so many things to cook, iron, and it burns 4 times longer, as Aisha has said here. It also produces a high heat value and it takes less space than our normal charcoal. It is eco-friendly as it lowers the climate change impact because the carbon monoxide released is significantly less. It also produces less ash content, very affordable and no chemicals used during the production. It also encourages self-employment as a method of getting our raw materials. We intend on having people actually bring it to us and get paid depending on the amount of kilograms that they bring. We can go next slide. The disadvantage of our product is that it is non-renewable. Um, we are going to the commerce section next. Next slide, please. We are going to talk about how we are going to locate our resources. We intend on sponsoring farmers to produce these raw materials in their farms, and we're going to buy it from them. Next, we have coconut sellers who don't use the waste, and we're going to collect that from them. We have peanut butter factories who normally don't use the shells in the peanuts that they're going to use. So we are just going to collect that from them or buy it from them. Next, we have the self employers that we mentioned. Next slide, please. We are going to talk about the cost of our process, which is divided into four subsections, which is the collection, carbonization. We have the ingredients section also. The collection, we are going to pay our self-employers 25 kilos. $25 is per 5 kilos of coconut broth. And 10 kilos, $10 is per 2 kilo of granite shells broth. Next, we have our biocoal production plant, which is 94,800. However, we don't plan on using this at the beginning stages of our production because there are more local methods of producing it, and we intend on using this later on in the future. Next slide, please. We are going to talk about the ingredients, which are just water and our binding agent. We will be using 12.5% of water depending on the amount of kilograms used. This is 100 kilograms, which will be 12.5 liters. 12.5 liters. And then we know that $25 is of water cost 1.5 liters. So this is a ratio actually. Next, we have our binding agent, which is going to cost 100 kilograms. Okay, the time is done.
So that was the first team from Sibek today, and with their project New Life. That was a very exciting presentation, if I could say so myself, honestly. It's very, very innovative, and I can see how clearly they've explained their project and what problem they're trying to solve. And I really do hope that the viewers listening are also, very much interested in what's happening here and to see how very innovative our young people are. And I hope we can all see that. And I hope we can all put our hands together and come together and be able to support our young people, not just that, but our young girls in STEM in the Gambia. So that was their 10 minutes for their pitch. So now we're going to go through the session for question and answers. And I'm just going to let the judges go ahead and ask whatever questions that they deem necessary for this project um, or whatever it is that they need some clarification on. And as you can tell, they did not really finish their pitch, but I do hope that with the judges' questions, they're able to bring some of these things to light. So without further ado, so our judges, take the floor.
Good morning. I'll start. Impressive project, and it was really intriguing to hear you explain it. I just needed some clarity on the binding agent. What sort of agent is the binding agent?
So our binding agent is cassava starch.
Okay.
Yes,
So
that is
much.
what we use to bind it after we mix it with water, just so it can stick together. Yes.
Okay. Nice.
A very good morning to you all. And well done for the presentation, very innovative. My question is, do you have a mechanism of measuring the content of the binary?
A mechanism for measuring the content of the binding agent.
It mentioned about 3.75%.
Yes, per kilo. That is per 100 kilograms of production. We are going to need 3.75% of the binding agent in kilograms. So that will be 3.75 kilograms of the binding agent per 100 kilograms of. You know,
Okay. Amazing presentation, Sebek. Your posture and communication is first thing to really comment, and the level of research and even the market analysis you've put into this project. And because I personally work in climate change, it's a project I fully commend and support, because one, I have experience in working in a project like this, and two, also work with partners that have implemented. So feasibility wise is very doable. And there's many, I would say, few people doing it here in the Gambia already who have been doing it for 2, 3 years. And the first thing I would recommend is for you to go beyond. I don't know what your research is, the mode of your research is based on, whether you have gone out to talk to people, which you have obviously started. But I would encourage you to go and talk to these people, because you're pitching a business, and it's competitive advantage is something you really have to study. What are these people doing that you can, do more so that you can have more sales, and of course to learn from them, because you're still in school, you can always learn from them, and this is something that I really encourage you to do. I just have questions, maybe if you can just go back to your figures. One, how did you do your quantifications? Because you can see the cost of the machines, I would say it's under budgeted. That is the feedback I can give you. So I don't know how you got these figures to make this locally, because we one of the projects I mentioned just made in one in Gambia in Basse for $185,000, and you guys are having $94,000 for a plant. So I don't know how. Maybe if you can just dwell more on how you found out your costings, and maybe also what's your um business model, in how many years do you think you can be able to get the profits, just to study the feasibility of your own project compared to the rest in the market?
like we said, we are planning on using much more local methods. Like just yesterday, we managed to get a local furnace, which we used to make our prototype. This was of a Chinese reselling website where they said this is a carbonization furnace that they can sell for this amount of price. But we are planning on using this after we actually make a lot of money, and we want to produce enough for the entire country to use.
So have you guys projected your cost yet, in terms of, even with the local methods? If
Yes.
how much, what's your total cost you put in, and how many months will it take you to get that money back? Have you made any? Because I see some costs and figures yet. Do you have any costs and figures to present? You can, of course, go back to your slide to delve more on it.
We have the water as a cost. We have our binding agent as a cost. To be looking more long term, we also have like electricity as a cost, but that will be long term. So these are the prices of what we intend to sell, because for now we are starting with just peanut shells and coconut shells. So this will be our prices. The cost is simply just two products: the the binding agent and the water, and it's on our ratio. If we're going to be using 100 kilograms to produce, for example, let's say we have 100 kilograms to use, that means we will be having 203.5. We will be spending that on water, and we'll also be spending 375 on our binding agent. Okay. And that would be our expenditure for 100 kilograms production of our coal.
Thank you. That was a very wonderful presentations. I will congratulate you. And I think the topic and the innovations affects us women here. We live that experience, and having these solutions in front of our eyes is an amazing thing. Just like my colleague said, I know it's a very good innovations, but to tell you, this is not the first time it's happening in the Gambia. You have a lot of competitors, you have a lot of new innovations. I can tell you from myself, I have an innovation related to these kind of issues, which use is biofuel energy. So what do you think it's unique that makes you different from your competitors? That's number one. And then number two, looking at the resources that is required to meet the demand of women that are using charcoals and firewood. What mechanisms are you going to make in place to make sure that natural resources or the resources that you need is enough to meet that demand that you are actually targeting in the Gambia? Because land is a problem here. Despite the fact that you want to engage farmers, you want to engage women, but where are they going to do the production of all of these raw materials? And that's agriculture is the key raw material for yourself. Sorry.
So that's a very good question concerning the initial one about the uniqueness of our product. So we have made some research and we have found out that most of the products are more expensive. Most of the similar products of our competitors are more expensive than the actual charcoal. So we're aiming to make ours less expensive so that it is more accessible to the general crowd, especially to our fellow women that need it mostly because it's going to make it much easier for them to cook. So we're hoping that with that price, it's more accessible to the public. Perhaps in the future we might increase it because if you think about it, the product is worth it. But for now, we're making it cheaper. So I think that's what. So I think that's what makes it quite unique. So the second thing about locating the raw materials, that is kind of the hard part of this product because yes, even though the product is attractive, the demand for it is going to be high, of course. So we are planning on sponsoring farmers, getting self-employers, getting it for us, and that might not be the best solution, but we are looking forward to perhaps getting them imported in, and perhaps later in the business we can get a more reliable source of raw materials.
I would say the uniqueness of our product is throughout the production, there are several advantages, not just for us, but for the outside of the Gambia. For example, why we implemented coconut shells, despite knowing that they are actually very hard to get in the Gambia, is to encourage the planting of coconut trees. And as for the raw materials, I would say we are pretty secure because I mentioned sponsoring farmers. We are not going to buy their land. They already have the land, so like they are already farmers. They have experience. So we are going to maybe like tell them to produce granite for a year. And we are very secure in that because we know that granules grows like all year round. So that's why we are very secure, and we are also going to encourage a lot of agriculture in the Gambia. Like we know, agriculture is the most daunting in the Gambia, but then people view it like something that's not very, you know, and we want to remove that mindset of people. So
And the other thing about our product is that when it comes to the raw materials, okay, when it comes to the raw materials, coconut shells or husk and peanut shells are not our only source. Whenever those are in scarcity, when they go through scarcity, we can always use other stuff such as dry grass or agricultural waste itself. So I think with that, we would have a quite reliable source for at least a year or so.
Okay, before I come back here, we get a bit. Um, because
The main aim, you're looking at climate change, trying to reduce emission. Your entire process, how is that? What is the emission going to be? Because you're going to burn, so that's also going to produce some, carbon monoxide, right? So, what did you look at that? You're trying to reduce, but what you're also contributing in a way. So, what is the balance here?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yes, there is some emission of carbon monoxide, but we would say that it's at a lower rate than that of actual charcoal, which is from the trees we use that contain even more carbon than the shells that we use. So I'd say yes, it does produce carbon monoxide, but at a lower rate. So that means if that scenario I just gave were to happen, it would happen in the longer future rather than the near future if we were to use trees.
That's it.
And that is it for the first team from Cibec New Life. Thank you guys so much for presenting such a wonderful, innovative solution for women here in the Gambia, not just in the Gambia, but like you said, women outside of the Gambia as well that use charcoal to cook. And with all the problems that we're facing now in the world, you are trying to solve so many of those very major issues like climate change that we're facing. And I could not be any prouder to be a woman today. That I could not be any prouder to be a woman today. So thank you so much, New Life. We would see you when we see you.